welcome to another episode of the Cynical Writer. Before we get started, I would just like to remind everyone that if you would like to support this channel, you should purchase my books, and I've left a link in the description section in case you're interested. Now, this is going to be an episode where I explore how has my Christian faith impacted me, and how has it impacted my writing? Because it has in various ways, even though it can be a bit difficult being a Christian in the writing world or the art world, because you do get quite a lot of secular people, and I suppose it's because artists tend to be very rebellious, and they often don't like moral authority, I suppose. However, I don't think that quality art can exist without belief in God, because I think that as artists and as writers, we create, and our creation ultimately reflects the larger creation in the world, the creation of God. So if that foundation is taken away, then our art becomes less meaningful in a sense, because it has no objective foundation upon which to rest. And so for that reason, I think it is very important that writers and artists try to see the majestic radiance and beauty in the world, because that will ultimately make your art more potent in the end. And of course, my art has impacted, my Christianity has impacted my writing in various ways. Now, I try to be, as much as possible, very subtle and very nuanced in my writing, because I don't like art that gives the audience a lecture about what is right and what is wrong. Ultimately, I want the audience to make up their own mind, and especially if you challenge your own worldview in your work, if you actively challenge it, then your worldview will probably come out stronger in the end, because you will have gone through all of the complexities and nuances. So I tried to make things very balanced. Now, of course, one of the difficult things is that if a writer makes things too balanced, then the audience might come away with the opposite message than perhaps the author intended. So it can be a fine balance, but here's the great thing about writing and about art is that art should be open to a multitude of different perspectives. So to me, it doesn't matter what message my readers come away with, just as long as they think. Even though I obviously will try to put my morality in my work, I will try to challenge it at the same time, so I can allow the reader to think about the work and ultimately come to their own conclusions. And of course, my Christianity has developed somewhat over the years. I might as well talk to you about how I became a Christian, because when I was a little kid, I never thought about religion very often. I mean, in many ways, because my family didn't go to church or anything like that. But as I grew older, of course, I became more interested in questions of faith and religion. And if you had asked me, for example, when I was 16, 17, if I believed in God or Jesus, I probably would have said yes, but I didn't really know what that meant. I didn't really know what it meant to believe in Jesus until after my grandparents died, which happened when I was 18, and that absolutely devastated me. It devastated me horribly, and it was after that that I began to question things and think about the deep meaning of life, and I ultimately came to have a deeper connection with God and with Jesus, who I believe is the physical embodiment of God himself. And also Jesus was a great storyteller, and he told fables and parables, and that's ultimately how he got his message across. And I think it's the duty of Christians to tell their stories in the form of fables and parables, because that will ultimately make their message so much stronger. Now, there is some dispute among Christians and among Christian writers and artists about how much evil you should show in a work. Well, to me, you have to show the darkness before you can show the light. So just because you're showing a lot of drama and a lot of conflict and a lot of evil, that doesn't mean that you, as the writer, are condoning those things, because a work of art, in order to be emotionally powerful, has to have a dramatic resonance, and of course we see that throughout the Bible. There are even the Gospel themselves are full of violent, miserable conflict, but ultimately, at the end there is light, and it's through having dark and unpleasant experiences that we ultimately become better people. And so, violent stories that are full of sin, or in some cases full of lust, help us learn and grow as people, and that's why I think they are so important. And so to me, it all depends on whether, to me, I don't think a work of art should glorify evil and say that it is good, but it can certainly use certain aspects of sin and evil in order to make a larger point. And it's certainly a very fine balance, but ultimately, that is how my Christianity has impacted me as a writer. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Stay tuned for next week's episode. And again, you can check out my books in the description section. And until next time, goodbye.